As Nolan told you, I'm Brandon Howard, owner and co-founder of Amalga Distillery with my wife. And when I got the prompt, I wish you knew, as a new business owner, it really got the gears turning. There were so many things that in my first year and so many struggles I would have been happy to share. But I'm also kind of an eternal optimist and get really excited about new things and new potential and old potential. So I changed my mind and my presentation somewhat last minute, which is very typical of me. And I want to discuss or share with you all a new project that I have going. I never really looked at myself as an entrepreneur before, but I think I maybe have a problem. I'm already really excited about the next thing. And so it's what I wish all of you could know about Alaska's agricultural potential. And then there's kind of a theme or a lesson at the end of the presentation that kind of keeps it more on track with this. So I started out my research, as a lot of people do these days, with Google. There was a particular ADN story that I was looking for, and I could not find it for the life of me. But I came across a really entertaining one. It was Alaska's 6 boondoggles. And I thought boondoggle is a very Alaska word. We're really good with kind of silly words. But this one really hit home for me, and Dave, I'm sure this one is probably going to be familiar to you. So a boondoggle, big, goofy mistake. And one of my favorites in this was the Prince Brau Brewery. Have any of you heard of Prince Brau? Yeah, just a crazy thing. Like the most spectacular brewery ever, built right here in Alaska, because there was this just rush on beer, right? Beer consumption statewide went up 16.2%, skyrocketed by 51% in Fairbanks. The state saw a gold rush and lured in German investors to build a big German brew house in the state. I think it was like an $11 or $12 million investment, which, in these days, money would build you, like where Alaska Brewing Company is right now, just like from ground up, right? It's massive, massive amounts of money, and it tanked. It was a complete boondoggle. So this $12 million investment just couldn't hold its ground, and went nowhere. And I think that this is a good example of, sometimes when you don't have the passion driving you, you have the bottom line driving you, and then you get kind of bureaucracy tied into it, and funding it. It doesn't always work. You need that passion, you need that love, you need that vision. The vision is so important. I pull my knowledge from kind of unconventional sources, and in reading this article, it really made me think of the wise words of this man. I don't think any of you know him. There's no reason for you to know him. He's a good buddy of mine. Jesse Palomino, he's a good climbing buddy of mine. And when I feel like I can't do something, he always has these great words of encouragement for me, and that is, you're doing it wrong. And it's really important. I carry it with me. And so when I was reading this article, it made me chuckle, because Jesse's voice was in my head, and I was like, you're doing it wrong. Enter Jeff and Marcy Larson. Not much, thank you for that. Not much off the heels of this Prince Brau brewery failure. We have Jeff and Marcy Larson come in, establish Alaska Brewing Company with all of these, the shipping logistics and all of these headaches. horrible time finding money because everybody was like, no, we just watched somebody dump 12 million into a brewery that completely tanked. Horrible idea for Alaska. And now they're the 20th largest, somewhere around there, craft brewery in the country. Amazing success story. But it brought me back to another part in the article that got mentioned in with the Prince Brau Brewery, and it was the boondoggle of the failed Delta barley experiment, right? Where the state dumped millions and millions of dollars into developing barley agriculture, and they considered it a failure, a boondoggle. And oddly enough, the state had hoped to dump a bunch of this barley from the Delta barley experiment into their Prince Brau brewery, which flopped, of course. What slide is that? Oh, I hit the power button. Brought me back to my good buddy Jesse Palomino. Sorry, but you're doing it wrong. The barley experiment was not a failure. This is Ming Zhu up at University of Alaska in Fairbanks. He does agricultural research. He doesn't think it's a failure. He doesn't think there isn't any hope. He believes in it. This is Glenn Vanderweel Farms, standing in front of a beautiful field of barley with snow-capped mountains in the background. He doesn't think it's a failure. It's not a failure. He's growing barley. I've gotten barley from him. He's growing wheat. A lot of people are getting wheat from him. It's not a failure. This handsome fellow, holy cow, Bryce Wrigley, if any of you have gotten to meet him, farmer out of Delta, growing barley, not a failure. He believes in it. And so do I. This is me in my distillery, malting barley on our distillery floor. You see the gap. You can't just use barley straight from the farm and make beer or make whiskey with it. It needs to be malted. And I did an apprenticeship in Scotland and purposefully chose a distillery to apprentice with that does floor maltings. And so I bought several tons of barley, unmalted, and then malted it on our distillery floor. This is about 500 pounds of grain on our floor, and decided I want to use Alaskan-grown barley when I make my product. I want my product to be 100% Alaskan. I want to create a value-added agricultural product and ship it out of the state. You know, my product has, thank you, yeah, it's exciting. My product has infinite shelf life, so it's brilliant for shipping, but I was doing it wrong. That 500 pounds of grain was about 8 days of labor. I malted it pretty well. I made alcohol with it. It worked. I made some whiskey with it. But like I said, I was doing it wrong. So enter these guys, Phil and Alyssa from Main Stem Malt out of Walla Walla, Washington. They create malt hubs for local farmers to have a high-value home for their crop. They take it, they malt it per spec for craft brewers, craft distillers, and deliver. And they're currently, there it is, Main Stem Malt, also salmon safe. We're buying some of our malt from them right now. And they're turning this facility at the port of Walla Walla into this facility, a craft malting facility. It's modular, it's scalable, it's beautiful, and it has a bunch of these beautiful stainless tanks that are malting machines, or drum malters. So instead of all the malt on my floor, which is really cool, but some people think it's a little ugh, you can add more of these on as you need more capacity. And right now, we're actually, this fall, going to be testing out one of these drum malters made by Newland Brewing Systems in Canada. So we're taking 8 tons of Alaskan unmalted barley with us down to Canada to test out one of these machines, test our barley, invest in the future of Alaska's agriculture, and through my business, Amalga Distillery, create the market pool for this product, and kind of kickstart a whole new industry in the state, right? New malt house. And in Anchorage, it's the perfect place for a hub for malting. This is a beautiful, hugely underused building. Sorry. Right by the Port of Alaska. It's central. Boats are leaving Alaska practically empty. So if we create an excess, more than Dave and I can use, then you can ship it down south for not a lot of money. We could create an export aside from the finished product. So these beautiful drum malting machines could be in operation in the state of Alaska, hopefully really soon. And there's some beautiful grain silos in Delta. Thank you guys very much. Sorry for going over. Yeah.